Have you ever watched Genealogy Roadshow or Who Do You Think You Are or Finding Your Roots and wondered where all of those marvelous documents came from, and could you ever find any about your own family? A trip to your local public library could set you on the path to genealogical treasure. Most public libraries have books and possibly magazines with genealogical information about research strategies, national and international pointers, and interesting personal stories about how someone discovered their own family's history. The Dewey Decimal System classifies most genealogy materials in the 929 area. History books will also help a beginning genealogist by providing a framework for everyday life and meaningful events where and when ancestors lived. Valuable regional books are on librarian-accessible shelves in the locked portion of the North Shore room. These are valuable due to their scarcity, not their monetary nature. All are cataloged, and you can request them at the reference desk to look at in the library only. The library catalog will guide you to these resources. A public library's mission usually focuses on its own city and region, so the greatest strength of its collections is local. Unlike the national and international books that can be at any library or that you can purchase yourself, the library's local resources will be close to unique in their coverage. Public libraries collect local history information in books, articles, indexes, and online resources. Or they know which local government agencies, colleges, churches, or museums have that information or collections that augment the library's holdings. The second floor of the Duluth Public Library includes the reference desk, nonfiction books, special collections, microfilm, computer access, and the North Shore room. Get to know your librarians. They're the ones who know where the collections are, what kind of information is included, and when your search won't be fruitful at the library, but where it might go on successfully. Beginning genealogists start with who, when, and where questions. Who was born? How educated were they? Were they employed? Did they marry and have children? When did they die? And can you prove it? Genealogists want proof. The North Shore room houses the majority of the local printed resources at the Duluth Public Library. To use the collection effectively, you will start by proving that an ancestor resided in Duluth and the earliest year recorded. One excellent resource to use for this basic question is the city directory. In Duluth, city directories were published from 1892 to the present for almost all years. City directories promoted their communities with information about officials, public institutions, companies, and local residents. The earliest are on microfilm, and the reels contain 2 or 3 years each. Starting with 1930, book copies of the directories are available in the North Shore room. The first section each year might include city officials and departments, followed by institutions like schools, churches, banks, and fraternal organizations. Content changed over the years. The bulk of every edition was the alphabetical list of heads of household. Spouses' names are often included along with an address and sometimes an occupation and employer. The book finishes with an alphabetical list of streets with all building numbers or cross streets and the names of those living or working there. It's a great way to get to know the neighborhood. Some include the equivalent of yellow pages for book businesses, too. I find the books easier to start with, so look for your family member in 1930 and confirm that they live in Duluth. If they aren't there, skip forward 5 or 10 years until you find them. Then you can look backwards a year or two for the first-time listing. If your family member is listed in 1930, you can move back to the microfilm copies of earlier years. Online alert. Ancestry.com includes historical city directory information for Duluth, and the page image is excellent, better than the microfilm image. However, the entries are not indexed in chronological order. If your family member is in the 1930 city directory, look first in the 1920, 1910, 1905, 1900, 1895, or 1885 city directories. Why? They coincide with the federal census years and the Minnesota state census years. Remember, 1890 is not available because of a fire. Combining city directory listings with census records provides even more family information for the researcher. Most countries conduct a census, and the USA does every 10 years during a year ending in 0. Statistics for all censuses are available, but the personal information must be at least 70 years old before it becomes available to the public. The 1940 census is the most recent one you can use. Information you might find is head of household, family members and their relationship to the head of household, address, age, marital status, number of children, citizenship, U.S. state or country of origin for parents, home ownership, occupation, and even if a radio was owned by the family. If you use an online database to identify census information, you might get multiple census leads, or you might have to search decade by decade. Be sure to bless any ancestor who had an uncommon first or last name, because it's easier to search. Different databases might have differing results. The Minnesota federal and state censuses are available on microfilm, too. They are arranged next to the naturalization records for Duluth. There's an index volume to the naturalization records. Matches for applications are on microfilm. The index tells you which reel to use and the page identification. The amount of information varies. Occasionally you'll be disappointed to discover that the person in the index is not your relative. Newspapers are kept on microfilm, and you can provide lots of interesting information, but most are not fully indexed. You can try to match dates for family events like births, deaths, and marriages and see what was printed. When you find an article, be sure to record which newspaper printed it and on what date. Some of the small articles include reports of vital records, births, marriages, and deaths, but they are not substitutes for the real things that are not available at the library. Those vital records are at county courthouses. If you can't find ancestor-specific articles, spice up your family history with contemporary news stories, cultural events, or daily records. Clippings from newspapers, magazines, and other paper sources can be found in 3 places. Biography clippings, indexed on the library's website, newspaper clippings, and the business collection. General clippings about Duluth are near the microfilm drawers, and the business clippings need to be requested at the reference desk. The biography clippings are near the reference collection. Some maps of Duluth are included on top of the microfilm cabinets or in the North Shore room. All lots are included with existing buildings in some of these atlases, giving you an intriguing image of what a neighborhood looked like in earlier days. The insurance or fire maps, many on microfilm, also include garages and sheds because they were used to confirm how many structures were on a given lot and where they were in relation to each other. Volunteers at this desk in the North Shore room help genealogists on quests. The reference librarians can alert you to times when to expect to see them. Before you visit the library in person, you can do some preliminary research on the library's website. Very selective historic newspaper articles are indexed, and you can look for surnames, locations, businesses, clubs, and other keywords. Originally on 3x5 cards prepared by WPA workers in the 1930s, this index might surprise you. The obituary index from 1960 to the present is very popular. Some databases are restricted by the companies that created them to Duluth Public Library or Arrowhead Library System cardholders. If you research other libraries across the nation, you will probably find similar restrictions. Please note that some of these databases can only be used at the main library, including Ancestry.com and American Ancestors. The reference librarians maintain a list of links to useful websites in the Research and Answers portion of the library catalog. You will discover many more resources at the library that will help you as you study your family's history. The July 18th handout will help you locate some of the specific resources, and others can be found by searching the catalog or asking a reference librarian or volunteer. Good luck!